Manchester United have beaten Arsenal and are through to the next round of the FA Cup after a game which for large parts felt a little bit like 10 men versus 12, but regardless, we were resilient, we were combative, and most importantly, we were relentless in terms of mentality and application. This was everything that Manchester United should be, and of course today we are going to break down everything that happened in this game and how United eventually, maybe, I'm not sure, deserved to get over the line. Before we get into that, if you could quickly subscribe to the channel, that would be greatly appreciated. Over 50% of you guys are not subscribed, which is crazy. So if you could subscribe, it'd be amazing. And then we'll get into the video. So what we saw in this game was, of course, Arsenal largely dominating possession. Normally, they are a very good possession side. They control a lot of the ball. Combine that with the fact that they were playing against 10 men and getting a lot of decisions going their way, they were always going to control the ball. One of the reasons why they were often able to control the ball was because United would press, but we were a little bit short in the press. So for example, Raya would play out from the goal kick, go to the centre-backs. United would try and get pressure on the ball. The problem was we were often outnumbered in these areas. Sometimes it was 6 or even 7 versus 5 in these positions. The really impressive thing about United, though, was that despite being so easily outnumbered, the work rate and the intensity of the players actually often masked that a little bit. So Arsenal would have the spare man in this position here, for example, and would eventually find him. But because these United players were so intense, it actually worked still. We were able to get over and sort of stop Arsenal for large parts of the game from taking too greater advantage of this. Now, as the game progressed, we did start to drop off a little bit deeper because there were still moments, of course, where Arsenal could play through us. They are a very good side. They get into their possession shape very well. Situations like this, we can see them in this sort of 3-1 shape with Jorginho in the pivot, and they're good with their rotations. You can see the left back moves inside the pitch. You can see 4 United players squeezing high, but we are obviously comfortably outnumbered in these positions, and Arsenal, when they play like this, are a very good football side, and they are able to move through the pitch. So what Ruben Amorim decided to start doing was actually returning to basics a little bit. And what he did was he stopped us from pressing high up the pitch because that left us exposed. And what he also did at the same time as well was stopped us playing out from the back on our goal kicks to stop us losing the ball in deep areas. So what he essentially done was simplified the football match. He didn't ask us to play in a complex high pressing system, and he also didn't ask us to execute a really technical pattern out from the back. He simplified the game and made it a lot about dueling, battling, covering each other, being there for your teammates, and that's something that Manchester United did incredibly well in this game. And what we done in particular was dropped into a very similar 5-4-1 shape, a shape which we saw last weekend against Liverpool. It was quite effective in that game at kind of preventing spaces from opening up. Now, of course, the result of this was that Arsenal again continued to dominate possession, but what United did really well in this game was any moment where Arsenal looked to move the ball forward into more progressive areas, into more dangerous areas, these United players hunted in packs. This wasn't, Timber gets the ball, Bruno goes over. It wasn't just one player going. United went in packs as a genuine team. It was like a pack of dogs at time going after these players. We can see in moments like this one here. Situation like this. 5 Manchester United players nice and close to each other. We've spoken about this front pentagon shape quite a lot. But what I love here is the fact that, again, they go together in these moments. This is difficult to play through. So Kobbie Mainoo is the first one. He goes. And then you can see the rest of the United team goes as well. Garnacho, Ugarte, they squeeze up the pitch because we want to try and win the ball. Bruno Fernandes also connects in the press. And again, we are compact. It's very, very difficult to play through there. These United players are hunting together. This is 4 versus 3 here. Now, eventually, Arsenal do find a spare man. But because United were working so hard, we were still able to get back into position. So Bruno Fernandes would quickly up the ground to get back onto the left-hand side to again keep us compact, and it gets us back in our shape. Now, of course, the downside of playing in this way is if you hunt in packs and you put 4 players really close to each other like that, all Arsenal need to do is find one moment, one bit of quality where they can move through, and suddenly you're in trouble. You're a little bit exposed. Fortunately, for large parts of this game, Arsenal didn't really display that quality. They weren't good enough on the ball, quite frankly. They weren't expressive enough on the ball, Arsenal, and they weren't ambitious enough on the ball. There were gaps in the United structure. This wasn't a perfect tactical performance by any means. The only real time that Arsenal actually capitalised on this really and played through these packs was the disallowed goal. You can see it here. Again, 5 players for United, really close to each other, really compact against 2 players here. We are hunting in packs. But Arsenal, for once, showed a bit of quality. Odegaard with a flick around the corner, actually really affecting the game for this moment. And you can see the space that this could create for Arsenal. This could have been a big problem for United in this game. But Arsenal weren't great at taking advantage of it. They weren't intense enough with the way that they played. And again, they weren't ambitious enough. Now, despite Arsenal not necessarily always being audacious enough on the ball, there were, of course, still moments where they moved through the United system. Again, I should make it clear, this was not a tactical masterclass from Ruben Amorim. Arsenal had a lot of spells of dominance, where they were able to move through the pitch, and they were getting towards the final third pretty comfortably for large parts. Arteta will be pleased with the ball progression, if not the final execution. However, what United did do well was still compact the middle of the pitch. We know these centre-backs are happy to engage in battles. They don't mind stepping out into midfield and having a go, having a nibble. They were absolutely brilliant when they did. Also, you've got the two in midfield shuttling in front. Our striker sometimes dropping all the way deep. But also Bruno and Garnacho doing their fair share of defensive work as well. And what this meant was that, despite having a lot of the ball, Arsenal, they struggled to move through the middle of the pitch. Because quite simply, there are so many Manchester United players out there. However, there was room out wide. Particularly in 1-versus-1 situations, you could get the ball to Jesus or Martinelli and potentially isolate your fullback 1-versus-1. But again, this quickly kind of wasn't a 1-versus-1 because the United players again did such a good job of covering for each other. You can really see a difference in this performance, the intensity the players were putting in. United were rarely 1-versus-1 in these moments because again, someone would always be over there, always trying to support, always trying to make up the extra man, helping out their teammates. And this is why I said right at the start of the video, this is everything in terms of mentality and application that United should be. This is the bare minimum, but it was great to see it. Situation like this, Martinelli's got the ball out wide on the left-hand side. Lots of energy, it's early in the game. He should be looking to get at the fullback. He should be looking to take Mazraoui on 1-versus-1. But because Martinelli's a little bit slow on this occasion, he doesn't do enough with the ball, but also United get numbers back, United defend well. We can see De Ligt here sort of as our spare man, ready to go over and cover, and we'll come back to that in a second. But also, the three out here, this is Garnacho, this is Ugarte, and also Mazraoui. 3-versus-2 with the Arsenal players. So it was 1-versus-1 for a moment, but because United work hard and get extra men over, it's actually now in Manchester United's advantage. We can see the extra players. Ugarte puts a tackle in here, and he is relentless. Keeps going, and eventually puts the tackle in here. But the next thing I want to talk about is again, this man here, Matthijs de Ligt. Why am I marking him? Well, it's because he was essentially the free man in these defensive situations on this side of the pitch. Now, the reason for that was because, particularly for the first hour of the match, Arsenal were a little bit cautious in the final third. The first half in particular, they created very, very little. The reason for that was because Havertz was playing up front, Martinelli on the left, Jesus on the right. Good players, but perhaps a lack of individual quality in big moments. But also, because Arsenal very often are so focused on controlling the ball, it means they drop their players deeper to keep the touches, to keep the passes, to dominate the possession. They want to kill you with 1,000 passes. But that meant that at times, United had spare men at the back. This is why De Ligt was often so free. And it's why the likes of Ugarte could get over and help as well. Because Maguire in the middle was more than comfortable. Again, we'll come back to his performance in a second. But De Ligt was essentially the spare man. It was rare for Mazraoui to be beaten in this game, or Dalot when he switched sides in the second half as well. It was rare to be beaten in these moments, but if we were beaten, De Ligt was always there to be the next one, going over to defend. And it was the same for Lisandro Martinez on the other side as well. And again, you can see that perfectly here. You can see these moments where Maguire and Dalot have got it covered in the middle. Maguire in particular, again, very, very solid. And it allows De Ligt to be that free man on that side. And if we just mark it here, there's so many Manchester United players on one side of the pitch here. We are overloading this from a defensive point of view. We often talk about in-possession overloads. This was a defensive overload. 3 Arsenal players here, 4 for Manchester United. So we have more players and we are able to overwhelm them in these positions, force the ball backwards. And if we look at it here for a second, look at the sheer volume of Manchester United players. Both of our midfielders are over there, our wingers there, our wing-back, our striker, and our wide centre-back. Arsenal simply found it too difficult to play through these moments. And it allowed United to force the ball backwards, and in these moments, actually, United get out really well, and it forces Arsenal all the way back to the goalkeeper. And this is why I talk about this being a good defensive display. Not necessarily tactically, although Amorim did have us compact, but actually individually. Even when we go down to 10 men, and of course Dalot comes off the pitch, Garnacho went to wing back for a little bit, Højlund eventually came off, and Xerxes came on. In these moments still, often a 5-3-1 shape, we didn't completely change the shape. It could also collapse into more of a 5-4-0 sort of shape, similar to what Newcastle did against Arsenal. But again, for me, above everything, it's the way that the players just kept battling. And kind of the backbone that we always had. If everything went wrong, if Arsenal cut through the press, if Arsenal progressed the ball really well, if Arsenal, on a rare occasion, played really well out wide and delivered into the box, The box defending of our 3 centre-backs, which has been criticised in recent seasons, was phenomenal to a man. All 3 of them, outstanding. Lisandro Martinez, we question him in this area. I personally have quite a lot, but he was really good. His numbers were brilliant. De Ligt, a fantastic performance. I mean, the clearance, we're going to talk about that in another video tomorrow. The clearance is unbelievable. But we do also have to take a moment to talk about Harry Maguire. These numbers are an absolute joke in terms of protecting your goalkeeper. And I tell you what's even better than that is even if we did lose that, for example, the second ball drops for Arsenal in the box, 9 times out of 10, we then had Bayindir in goal to bail us out. And I mean, what a night for him in terms of he's had some hard times recently in different competitions. He perhaps should even do better with the goal, you know, with the punch early on. But the penalty save, the save in the shootout, some big saves towards the end of the game, because Arsenal did have chances, right? Again, let's not pretend this was a tactical masterclass. It wasn't. But it almost doesn't matter. And I'm actually going to reduce this all really quickly. I'm almost not too interested in the tactics for this game. We know that Ruben Amorim is a good tactical manager, and in time the tactics will be strong. Were they strong in this game? Perhaps not. It was possible to play through us and against us. But he got us numbers behind the ball. We were compact, we were defensive. Good. But the players, more than anything, just the mentality, and again, the word application, the intensity, they fought for everything. Every single ball for 120 minutes. An hour of that, 50% of this football match was played with 10 men. Away from home, against one of the best teams, not in England, but in the world. Manchester United players deserve so much credit. Now, I said it after the Liverpool game last week as well. They've set the bar now. That is the bare minimum. You've got to try and do that in every single football match. That is the challenge. It's easy, in a way, to do it away against Liverpool and Arsenal because they are the games you get up for. For me, the true test for these players and their mentality now is to do the same at home against Southampton on Thursday. That's the next big game for Manchester United. It's a huge game. Get 3 points on the board there, and suddenly we're looking in a better place, and the positivity is around the club, and the confidence starts to come back. I think this was an amazing performance individually. Tactically, perhaps there are flaws still, but individually, the players, as people, not even footballers, as people, the work rate they showed, and the team spirit was amazing to see as a Manchester United fan. So that is where I'm going to leave it today. Because almost, I don't want to talk too long about tactics. Because for me, it was about a bit more than that. United almost, we'll use a Sunday League team here. United almost just wanted it more. And that was very good to see. In terms of today, we're going to wrap it up there. We will break this down further during the week and look at different tactical ideas. But for today, I think we're going to stop it there. Get in the comments down below. Let me know who your man of the match was. And just your favourite moment of the match. Was it the goal? Was it the penalties? The Bayindir save? Let me know your favourite moment of this match. Apart from that, thank you guys very much for watching. Hope you have enjoyed this video. And of course, as always, I'll see you guys in the next one.